Whenever you're ready, you may go ahead.
This is a topic that's been argued by students around the school since well before Easter break. Islam, as defined by the Quran, is not actually a religion of peace. But before we define religions, philosophies, or ideas as peaceful or not, we must first define peace. Peace never resorts to violence. Peace is in and of itself free of violence. The Quran, however, permits its believers to abuse their wives and commands death for those who apostatize from this religion, and has laws based on an eye for an eye ideology. The abuse of wives in Islam is based on Quran chapter 4 verse 34. And according to the Sahih International Version, it says, "Men are in charge of women by right of what Allah has given one over the other, and what they spend for maintenance from their wealth. So righteous women are devoutly obedient, guarding in the husband's absence what Allah would have them guard. But those wives from whom you fear arrogance, first advise them, then if they persist, forsake them in bed, and finally strike them. But if they obey you once more, seek no means against them, indeed Allah is ever exalted and grand." So, let's look at some other translations. And here in the Usmani translation, we see the three key steps still present. First being to advise them or convince them not to do something. Second being to forsake them in the bedroom, kick them to another room. And third, if they continue to do so, to strike them or beat them. Also here in the Pictal translation, we see the same three core elements present. So, regardless of the steps taken prior to abusing your wife, it's never okay to actually abuse a wife. Many Islamic apologists tend to defend this tradition or this practice by saying that the wife knew exactly what was going to happen because of the steps taken, and that it's acceptable because of the amounts taken before he actually abused her. However, regardless of the number of steps taken or whether she knew this would happen or not, it's never actually acceptable to abuse your wife. Colossians chapter 3 verse 19 says, "Husbands, love your wives and do not be harsh with them. Therefore, no cruelty is acceptable in the Bible." Don't be misled on the abuse of wives in Islam. Women have it really hard in the Islamic religion. However, apostates tend to have it more difficult within this religion. The punishment for apostasy in Islam is based on Quran chapter 4 verse 89. And according to the Sahih International Version, it says, "They wished you would disbelieve as they disbelieved, so you would be alike. So do not take from among them allies until they immigrate for the cause of Allah. But if they turn away, seize them and kill them wherever you find them, and take not from them any ally or helper." So let's take a look at some other translations so we can compare them. We note that in the Usmani translation again, the two core elements are still present. First being not to take them as friends, and second being to execute those who do apostatize from the religion. Also in the Pictal translation, we also note that the two core messages are still present. In the previous verse, verse 88, it deals with an unrelated topic regarding hypocrites. However, in verse 89 and 90, they both deal with how to deal with those who apostatize and how to deal with disbelievers in the Islamic religion. So in reading this in its context, we understand that this verse and in the following verse are meant to prevent more believers from apostatizing from the religion. There's a saying that one bad fish can spoil the whole pond. Therefore, Islam commands to execute the one bad fish. The common counter-argument is based in Quran chapter 5, verse 105. It says, "O you who have believed, upon you is responsibility for yourselves. Those who have gone astray will not harm you when you have been guided. To Allah is your return altogether. Then He will inform you of what you used to do." The Islamic apologists claim that this grants protection to those who do apostatize from the Islamic religion. However, the sense that they continually quote is, "Those who have gone astray will not harm you when you have been guided." Note that this is not protection to the apostates, however, protection from the apostates to the current believers. Don't be misled on the punishment for apostasy within the Islamic religion. The Quran has its religious laws based on an eye for an eye ideology. This This is the basic principle for Sharia, and it's based on eye for an eye. This has basis in Quran chapter 5, verse 45. And according to the Sahih International Version, it says, "And we ordained for them therein a life for life, an eye for an eye, a nose for a nose, an ear for an ear, a tooth for a tooth, and wounds is legal and retribution. But whoever gives up as his right as charity, it is an expiation for him. And whoever does not judge by what Allah has revealed, then it is those who are the wrongdoers." This is a great definition of the law of retribution, and is clearly outlawed, prohibited in the United States of America. Peace is never to resort to violence with more violence, even when faced with violence. And this is exactly what the law of retribution is facing violence with more violence. According to the Polling Company, Inc., a company who received an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau, 51% of American Muslims believe that Sharia law should be the law to govern, that Muslim Americans should have the right to choose if Sharia law should be the law to govern them in America. 1 out of 3 Muslim Americans believe that Sharia law should overrule American law in America. 1 out of 3. In Jesus' Sermon on the Mount, from Matthew chapter 5, verse 38 through 44, he tells his listeners to turn the other cheek instead of punching back. Don't be misled on the truth of Sharia and its immediate threat it poses. Everyone should know the truth about Islam and not be misled on the common misconceptions it carries. The Quran permits its believers to abuse their wives, commands an execution for those who do apostatize from their religion, and has laws based on eye for an eye ideology. Islam, as defined by the Quran, is not a religion of peace. However, not all Muslims may actually be violent. But don't be misled on the truth about Islam. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much. Let's give them a round of applause. Thank you. And if you could go ahead and just stay up there for just a few minutes, we'll go ahead and pose our questions when we have them.
Questions? Did you raise your hand? Yeah. Okay, question.
What percentage of people of the Islam religion are actually like radical or violent?
Okay, that's a really interesting question. And it depends on how you define radicalism. If you define radicalism as their actions or how closely you relate, how closely they follow the Quran. So I guess my question to you is, well, how do you define radicalism?
Following the Quran as close as possible.
That is a very difficult question to answer because you can't really gauge how closely someone follows a book or not. Exactly. But I can tell you the amount distribution of Sunni and Shiite Muslims, if that would interest you. Okay, well, the total Islamic, the total Muslim population consists of 99%, not 99, but 90% Shiite, and around 8.9 to 9%. No, I'm so sorry, I'm a little nervous. 90% Sunni and 8.9 to 9% Shiite Muslim. Okay. No.
What would you say about the rules of the Bible that we don't follow, which means like not all Muslims will necessarily follow this, like it says that we shouldn't wear clothing of the same cloth, a different cloth, women who try to divorce their husbands should be killed, and alcoholism, etc.
Oh, that is a very great question. And another one to add on to that is Leviticus chapter 20 verse 10 where it commands death on those who commit adultery, correct? And the reason why we don't do this is because Jesus already died for their sins. He died for their sins, so they don't have to suffer for their sins. If we began killing people who committed adultery, then Jesus died for nothing.
But after Jesus died, wasn't it Paul that wrote that anyone who divorces should never remarry because?
Oh, okay, I know what you're talking about, and I think that's a quote from 1 Corinthians, something like that. That's talking about his single life, because if you remember, Paul was actually a single person. He never married. And he's talking about if you have the right, if you have the ability to stay celibate, and you have the ability to abstain from sex, then it's your gift from God, and you can't stay single your whole life. However, he does continue in his letter to the Corinthians and says that if the lust, in his words, is too fiery to constrain, and if in your heart, if you can't constrain it within your heart, then it would be better for you to marry than commit adultery. And have outside, marriage outside of, sex outside of marriage, I'm sorry. Any questions?
Do you think that we should let Islamic refugees in the United States who are trying to escape the beating and the eye for an eye ideology?
Very good question, very good question. It's a difficult question to answer because it's kind of a yes and no. We of course, how do I say this? Personally, I would love everyone to become a Christian. And so that's my answer for yes. Yes, I would love for as many Muslims to come here as possible and to convert to the Christian religion. However, we also have to recognize that not only the sheep, if you want to say, the sheep will come along, also wolves will come along with the sheep. And so we do need to watch out for that. Elizabeth.
Do you think that the U.S., which could have been possible to have been founded with Protestantism, should allow Sharia law?
Should we allow Sharia law?
Yeah, the
No.
books.
No, we should not allow Sharia law.
Is there any basis for why?
Because it infringes on people's basic rights. Sharia law is very, very controversial, as you may see here. These are some of the outlines of Sharia law on an eye-for-an-eye basis. In 2009, there was an account of a man being being forced to be blinded in the eyes because, I'm so sorry, being blinded with acid because he blinded someone else. So,
Anyone else?
questions?
All right, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you so much, Isaac.